Okay, in this video, I'm going to go over how to do an installation on your product if you have a purple card in your instruction set. Now, if you have the purple card, what that means is your print or your product was printed on a new age UV printer. I won't get into crazy details about that and bore you with it, but basically UV printers, they use UV light. They flash UV light on the inks as soon as the ink hits the vinyl to cure it. Now, I use solvent and UV printers here in the studio, depending on the job. If your product is a specialty product, in other words, you had it printed on neons or you had it printed on certain types of chrome that we have, I lean into the UV end of things because UV has brilliant whites, and it's really important to get a good white point down as a layer first to block out neon film's ability to push that color through the sort of transparent inks. One of the other benefits of printing with UV is the machine itself can actually lay down a gloss finish like you would find on a clear coat on a car, or if you, the customer, chose matte during checkout, it can also lay down a matte finish. So I want to go over the differences that you'll find when you open up your UV printed or purple card order. So the one I have here, this sample print, is of course flat, but when you get it, it will be rolled up in a box, and there'll be a label on the outside of the box warning you to allow the product to warm to at least room temperature before unrolling it. And the reason for that is cold vinyl can crack. Cold vinyl does not like to unroll. It will retain its memory in that rolled state much longer. So you want to let it warm up. Now, something new I'm doing on a lot of kits, but not all, and you'll know it when you get it, is I am kiss cutting and die cutting these products now to help you guys out. And the way that's going to help you out is you can remove each individual product, each individual piece, I should say, from the vinyl. So in the sample I'm going to do here, I'm going to install some graphics, not on this entire kit here, which is a HackFab Mini Loci, which is a HackFab Loci Mini B Lexan kit. It's a very, very small machine, but it's a good example of where this UV prints will be used mostly in 1/10 scale, typically in smaller, indoor racing, semi-outdoor racing. UV prints don't have the UV sun protection that solvent prints do. Even though it uses UV to cure, they can fade if you let them sit out in the driveway for 4 months. With RC, we don't typically do that, so it's a really good fit for what we're doing here to get you into a high-vis neon or specialty product. So I'm going to set this aside for just a second here and dive back in. So what I mean by kiss cut and die cut, the graphics are pre-cut to fit specific applications, in this case, a HackFab Loci Mini B. So what you can do when you get this is you can actually punch these out. So this is obviously just my logo, but let's say you just wanted to work on the roof panel. Look how easy it comes out. Let's say you wanted to work on just the side. There it is, right? Really, really nice. Now, that is the die cut. The kiss cut still has to be weeded. It's about 1/8 of an inch away. So you will take the kiss cut off, and you'll be left with about 1/8 of an inch, depending on the kit, bigger, smaller. And now you've got your proper sized graphic. Now, one of the things about UV prints is they are a bit more brittle. All the advantages we get by using UV to print on specialty films, such as fluorescent neons like this, which is huge, in huge demand in the RC racing circuit because it's an advantage, right? In order to do this, really got to use a different technology, which is the UV. Of course, with everything that's good, there's a drawback to almost everything. These are not as flexible. They cannot be stretched. They cannot be sheared with your finger, because they will shear, I should say. You do not want to treat them like paper, where you can take paper and tear it. They can be lifted back up off of the substrate, in this case, clear Lexan panels, but you have to be very careful when you do it. They cannot be on there a long time, because the longer they sit on there, if you need to lift it off to reset it because you don't like your positioning, the more risk you take in tearing the product. Now, I'm not going to go through every single step in prepping graphics for application. I'm just going to dive in and show you how to handle these. These are, if you have the purple card, it will be, generally speaking, an air egress technology. You can take the graphic and you can look at the back, and when you look close, you will see little cross hatches on the back side of the sticky graphic. That's for your air to escape. So you can do these with a dry apply. And if you have a bubble in the middle, as long as you haven't pressed hard with the squeegee to get it down, you can work that bubble out with your finger and it'll find channels to make it to the edge and out. Now, I want you to revert to the Start Here video, which tells you how to prep your substrate for graphic installation. I'm not going to go over how to use the isopropyl alcohol, the dust rag, all those things. Again, this is, you have the purple card. Let's talk about how you have to be more careful with these graphics, how they can't go over a compound curve. A compound curve, just for definition purposes, is a curve that's on more than one axis. So a single axis curve is like a piece of PVC piping, right? You can put a graphic on a piece of PVC pipe, or let's say a soda can. It's going around one axis, okay? Compound curve is you're asking it to go around this axis, but also this axis at the same time. For example, picture a ball. You want to put the graphic on a ball. These aren't going to go on. They're not going to stretch like that. They stretch perfectly fine on a single axis, like a pipe, for example, or a soda can, something like that. So I'm going to jump right in here. I'm going to pull out one of these Lexan panels. So as you can see, it is a little guy right here. And they obviously come with a protective covering on them. So I'm just going to pull that off, set it aside. I'm going to leave the back protective covering on for now. Now, again, you will prep this per the Start Here video, but let's just jump in. So your hands are clean. You pull this off, and you can see it's very flexible, just like normal vinyl. Again, do not try to stretch it and tear it like that. Not good. So I do have an overhead camera active right now, and I'll put that up in the corner so you can see this a little bit easier. I'm going to take my graphic, of course, sticky side down, and we're just going to set it on there. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a flat panel like I have here, there's an option where you can do it this way, and the panel's clear, I should say, and you can lay it down like this, panel onto graphic. I believe I'm going to do it that way just for demonstration here. So I'm going to lean over and I'm going to align to the best of my ability. And there we go. So at this point, you would squeegee down the graphic. You can squeegee down from the back side over top the Lexan, right? Let's say you don't like the alignment and you need to start over. You need to be sort of judicial about how you choose to pull this off. A bad idea would be to take this super thin part right here and pull it from there and rip it off. What I like to do is slowly work it back. And once I get my hands on the meat of it, like right here, then you can pull it back like so. Okay? Now, when you do that, you can hear it go snap, snap, snap. That's the graphic. You know, every time you pull it, it sort of wants to grab, and you get these little striation lines. You can take some very mild heat from a blow dryer or a heat gun, preferably a blow dryer, and you can remove them like that. Now, the trick here is to let this cool. If you grab this now, it's so soft from that heat gun, it's going to be really hard to handle. So I'm going to take this. Now, I've already demonstrated how to do it, laying the Lexan down onto the graphic. Why don't we lay the graphic down onto the Lexan? A little bit different. It depends on what you're most comfortable with. So I'm just going to start by aligning a corner. Make sure I'm in the overhead camera here. And we lay it down like this, and that's it. Okay? I'm going to grab my felt tip squeegee. Again, the tools used will be in the start here video. So I can take my felt tip squeegee, I can start in the middle and just do a soft push and a soft push. Be careful you don't grab some small pieces and lift them up with the felt. And here we have it. Okay, that looks great. Now, if you look in the back, in this case, I have a clear Lexan panel, so I can do this. You can see where I didn't quite adhere down here, and you can also squeegee it from the back like this. Now, I get a lot of questions, and this is indicative only to most smaller racing RC kits. Things like, you know, HackFab, GFRP, Salvis. A lot of times I don't cut the little holes out for the screws. So I want to just touch on that really quickly as to why, because I do get questions on it. For me to sit and cut every single screw hole out when not all of them are always used is just not an economical way to make these. So if you could reimagine us putting this on there again, we'd have to try and align every single one of those holes. And it's just one more thing for you, you know, to misalign. And when those holes don't align perfect, they look really unsightly. So what you do is you just take an X-Acto knife like this, and you come from the back, whatever hole you think you're gonna need, and just make a push through. And it's just a small little slice. And then you can take, and I'm just gonna grab some hardware here from a Salvis body. You can push it right through that open slit, like so. And what happens then is you get a nice flush screw head that pushes down on the entire graphic. And there's no cut line around the screw head. And what I found is when I cut around the openings, when you twist that screw head, it wants to twist the vinyl because it can grab on that cut edge. Whereas if you just poke a little hole through there, you know, you're gonna be a lot better off. So that's really all there is to it. Now, I did talk about how the UV prints are a bit more brittle. Once they're on here, you're perfectly fine. You know, it's not gonna break, not gonna crack unless you crack your Lexan most of the time. So let's move on to one more point I want to make about these. And this is where, you know, we take into consideration its inability to go over compound curves or stretch. So here we have the roof line for this little model. So again, everything pops out. Just gonna keep that off to the side. And what I need to do is I need to remove the kiss cut portion. Now, I want you to look at the overhead camera here. You can see that it's got a flail up right here and it comes down here. So one of the nice things about these things being die cut is you can take them off now, whereas in the past, I didn't do the die cut portion and you would take them off and you'd have the sticky part and you're kind of flying around here looking like, oh, okay, I see, it goes like this. Well, now you can pre-fit them while they're on the liner and figure out, I see, this needs to go like this or vice versa. So when I do this, you know, I can obviously see that it needs to go up this flail and then down and around. Now I'm going to show you what not to do. Don't lay the graphics down on that bridged area here, and I'll try and bring it up here so that you have to then push it down into this groove. What you need to do is you need to install it so that you hit the groove and then it travels up, because these will not really flex down like a standard vinyl will. So I'll demonstrate. I will take this and I'll sort of do a rough line up here like that. So now I'm going to take my squeegee and I see I'm holding it up here. Hit that groove first, then you can travel up. Now, if you bridged it across and then tried to smush it down, you're asking that vinyl to stretch down into that valley. We need to walk it into the valley first and then up that hill. The front here is much easier. You know, obviously, I'm just walking it with my thumbs back and forth until I get up and around right there. And that is how you work with these UV prints. Now, on some items, you will need to use a little bit of heat. Get the feel for the heat first. So maybe use one of these logos, because there's quite a few on there usually. And you can weed it out like this, and just give it a little bit of heat, right? So right there is plenty. See how it just fell into my hands? You cannot stretch this even when it's warm. And you can see you can tear it if you work at it, okay? So test it first with your blow dryer or your heat gun. Blow dryer, again, more than enough heat for these purple card UV prints. Now, let's say you got yourself into a little jam where, you get some oils from your finger on the edge of the graphic and you can't get the graphic to stay down. You put the stuff on your project, you come back the next day, and you got an edge that wants to sort of peel up a little bit. So I'm going to show you the solution for that. And this is on primarily clear Lexan panels. Always test this in an inconspicuous spot if you care. Once you do that, I will demonstrate here a situation where this comes in handy. So I'm just going to force this back up. And this product is called 3M Primer 94. You can get that on Amazon. It's relatively cheap, a few dollars, $5 for a pair. And there's a little glass vial in there. So what you need to do is just pinch it so that you smash the glass vial, okay? And that releases the fluid. And then you can shake it, and the fluid should start to come out the little application tip here. So you take the 3M Primer 94 and you simply rub it across the Lexan. Now, the step here is very important. You need to let it dry, and it does dry very, very, very quickly. Now, the secondary thing you need to be aware of is when you push this graphic back down and around, it's going to basically be a permanent bond when it hits wherever you put that Primer 94. So make sure you take your time and you get it where you want it. Now, I'm rushing this a little bit. You should make sure that it is dry. Take your finger. You'll see as it dries, it starts to sort of whiten the Lexan a little bit. But this Primer 94 pen is very good for instances like that. The other thing you want to pay attention to, especially with these small RC kits, is you want to not have an overhang of vinyl over the edge. So just take your X-Acto knife and you can just trim it right along the edge. You can see I have a nice clean cut right there, and there you go. Make sure you go over all of the edges on your project. Make sure nothing's overhanging. What happens when you have an overhanging edge is when you go outside and you get contaminants on that overhanging edge, those contaminants can kind of pull back the edge, make it curl, and or work dirt and grime up in there, and your graphic starts to begin to fail. These concepts are the same regardless of the size of the kit that you're installing. So let's say you're doing something larger like a Salvis Mud Boss Lexan. In fact, let me show you what that would look like. So here I have just a roof panel for a Mud Boss. Now, you may not know what a Mud Boss is. That's okay. The general point here is that you're seeing a much bigger part that we need to do an install on. So what I have here is another UV print. Now this, would ship to you rolled just like that in a square tube box. What you need to do, again, is make sure it warms to room temperature. Now, this particular one is not die cut out because it was one of my testers. Yours probably will be, so you can remove each piece like I showed you previously. You can do a test fit. Now, there's two ways you can install this, much like the last one. Because we're working with clear and we don't have any compound curves, we can set the graphic down upside down on the table here and actually set the Lexan down onto the graphic, okay? The other option is you can place it on top. Again, keep in mind, if you do that and you need to lift it off, grab it from the meat of the graphic, not a small appendage up here, because if you pull it from a small appendage up here, it'll probably tear in this corner right here, okay? So I'm just going to do one piece here just to show you. I'm going to do it upside down. We will pull the material off. Thankfully, my table was clean because I had this piece actually hit the table. It's the importance of keeping your workspace clean, which is covered in the Start Here video. So here we have the Lexan. Let's go to the overhead camera. And you can see, I just align it, in this case like this. And again, you can squeegee the Lexan down onto the graphic. So now what I like to do is kind of hold it like this so that these things, you know, stay back. And I just hold it up here, fold that over. Now this is stuck here, but barely. So I'm able to just gingerly take that off. And there we go. Now we have this lip back here, right? So we can just fold it down like this. And that is how easy it is to do a bigger piece. I would advise you that if you have pieces that you know, maybe they're white Lexan and you can't see through them, you can still do it that way where you push the Lexan down, but you need to now reference your edges instead of seeing through the part. If you feel uncomfortable with the method of laying the graphic down, and I get it, you know, there's some appendages here, just get some help. You know, 4 hands is going to be better than the 2 that you're working with, especially if you're a newbie with this. It is doable. It is possible to have someone help you and greatly benefit from that. I'm not going to go through and do the rest of this kit, but again, you would want to come back here and trim the overhang. I mentioned the importance of the overhang. That's really all there is to these new UV prints. They are amazing quality, especially the neons and the fluorescents, which a lot of racers really, really want and desire because it's a great visual advantage knowing which car is yours on the track. I will continue to produce, hopefully, awesome neon and fluorescent graphics for you guys. If you have any comments about the type of graphics kits that you would like to see from me, go ahead and put it down in the comments. I do read the comments when I do get time, and I will, you know, take a lot of them to heart with what to add in the future. If you have any questions, concerns about the process of installing graphics with a purple card, shoot me an email. I will put my email right down in the description so you don't have to go searching for it. I'll get you going if you have any questions. If things don't seem right halfway through your install or after the first piece, please don't keep going. Just send me an email and I'll help you out. All right? Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.